big, massive dumps.
It's like a Sharknado, except with poop.
Out in the nation, Waldorf Nation. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. It's Thursday. It is the first full day of Joe Biden's presidency. Wow, it is very strange. Very strange not having Donald Trump in the White House. But don't worry. It's also kind of strange to some Trump supporters. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We've got some of the world's saddest Trump rallies, most pathetic, tiniest, very tiny, very, very small Trump rallies. Oh, it's so good. We also have Trump supporters not having a good day. The Proud Boys, not so proud anymore. We also have Ted Cruz making some pretty unfortunate comparisons. Oh, this Ted Cruz story is so good. I love it. We've got that. We're going to talk about, of course, Rebecca Jones. That is the COVID whistleblower in Florida. We got some updates on her, what happened to her. We've also got Bernie Sanders on what he wants to do going forward. And then the infamous Diet Coke button is gone. Just a little fun, just a little candy here. And we'll have some fun doing that on today's show. I am going to address a little bit of, Biden's executive orders. So all this good stuff. So let's do it. Before we do, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. Helps us out. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Twitch, for some reason, seems to not be... it is working, but it doesn't seem to be working on my end as far as... Oh, there it goes. Oh, hey, look at that. Share on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, all that wonderful stuff. And yeah, let's do it. Jump in. All right. Oh boy. So yesterday was the inauguration of Joseph R. Biden as the 46th president of the United States. And thankfully it actually went off without a hitch. There wasn't, widespread violence. There wasn't anything like that. And so lots of people were concerned about possible violence, like we saw on January 6th, the Capitol building, when, of course, violent right-wing insurrectionists disrupted the certification process for the election. But, of course, it ended up being certified as Joe Biden being the winner. We've also heard news of armed militia groups that were getting ready to protest at state houses across the country during the inauguration. And so that concern prompted state officials to try to take preventative measures to do that. Beefing up security, putting up fences, things like that. Well, it turns out it wasn't actually needed. So that's good news. In fact, the demonstrations that actually happened across the country were a little sad, a little pathetic. And I'm going to show you in very, very low energy, very, very Jeb.
Please clap.
So not good, at least not good for the Trump brand. In fact, more than a few of those rallies drew just one or two Trump supporters. Let me show you the picture outside of Albany. Oh, that's the wrong one. Old. That's Albany. Ooh. Sad. Oh, that's pathetic. So now this guy is Mark Ligero. Mark Ligero was talking to NBC News about this. He was asked. And he says, I just wanted to be part of the Patriot Party. Join supporters of Trump, you know. I find myself kind of by myself out here. Yes. I was hoping that we'd have more supporters out here. Oh my God. It's so sad. It's so pathetic. And look, you kind of feel for the guy a little bit, but then you also have to remember that he supported a violent insurrectionist. So, you know, screw that. But hey, we've got more fun stuff, more fun images, I should say, if I can actually work this right. So you had other tiny Trump rallies, some as small, as I said, a single person, broke out around the nation, including this guy in Sacramento. Get this guy. Lone guy. Not doing too well. All right, and then there's a video here from New Hampshire of a protester who was asked this.
So Donna, what compelled you or inspired you to come out here today?
I just could not sit and watch the inauguration. I cannot accept that. I cannot watch the televised president who won leave the White House.
our president who won? What you got like a mouse in your pocket, or there's nobody else there? You're just by yourself. Oh, again, that's super sad. We love President Trump. Who's we? Who's we? There ain't nobody there. All right, let me show you Kansas. I'm sorry. No, this is Carson City, Nevada. So let me get to the next picture here, which is, again, lots of fun. That's one Trump protester. Just the one. Awesome. And by the way, some of these drew counter protests of like more people. That's even better. It's even better. And then you have this. Honk if socialism sucks. This one happened in Kansas. So, oh, fantastic. The same one from Kansas. So there was multiple people. You know, there were a couple. There were maybe tens of people across the country that were involved here. So good. This is far from the energy that, you know, Trump used to bring. And by the way, it's far from the energy that protests against Trump would bring. You remember when Donald Trump first got elected, the Women's March drew millions and millions of people. Marches for Black Lives Matter drew tens of millions of people, not just, you know, across the country, but across the world. And yet now, Trump's no longer president, and he could only bring out maybe more than a couple people. Sad. Baby. And here's the thing, this is good. Because this means conservatives, for the most part, I think are starting to accept the reality of a Biden administration. It's here. You know, you can't really do anything about it. Like, he's still your president, okay? And so, you know, there it is. And as a bonus, by the way, you saw that woman, she was wearing a mask, good on her. This also means that you have less super spreader events now that you don't have massive Trump rallies anymore. And of course, by the way, you probably would get more, you know, a decent crowd of people now, a few thousand at least, if Donald Trump was actually at the event at the time. Okay. So, but it also, by the way, does show how overall how weak they are. Again, when you compare lefty protests to conservative protests, lefty protests bring people out more. They're able to get more people involved in their causes because lefty protests tend to be more about justice, fairness, the sense of equality, etc., where a lot of the Trump right-wing protests are usually about conspiracies, whether that, you know, oh, they're taking my guns, they're going to take my guns away. Really, we were told for 8 years that Obama's going to take away your guns. Gun sales actually increased in this country. So, no, based on conspiracy theories, QAnon stuff, just the most ridiculous stuff that they're protesting, against or for. And most people in America don't agree with them. And that's why you see these very, very sad, very pathetic little protests. Thank you, Pugly Pug, for subscribing with Prime over on Twitch. Give me that sweet Bezos money. Love it. All right, moving on. Let's go to the Proud Boys. The infamous right-wing group, the Proud Boys, have abandoned former President Donald Trump. Oh, it really feels good to say former President Donald Trump. New York Times report on them notes that the group is upset that he didn't both put up a fight to stay in office and also left them to twist in the wind alone. Oh, it's so good. In fact, they're frustrated that he hasn't helped any of the members who have been arrested for their involvement in the the January 6th siege of the Capitol. That is where, of course, violent insurrectionists tried to take over to, change the election results to no avail. Now, on Wednesday, Joseph Biggs, a leader of the group, was arrested on charges of obstruction of a proceeding and entering restricted grounds of disorderly conduct. And of course, a lot of these, Trump supporters, they literally would go and film their crimes. And that was it. Like, yes, they filmed themselves literally doing felonies. Smart. Now, this guy's at least the fifth member of the Proud Boys to be arrested in connection with the Capitol riot, according to the New York Times. And yet, where were the pardons of the Proud Boys? Donald Trump had, up until the 19th, to pardon, anybody he wanted to, basically. Could have pardoned some of the Proud Boys. Could have pardoned a lot of people. Could have pardoned Joe Exotic. Or Assange. Or Snowden. Or, somebody. But who did he choose? Who did he choose? Steve Bannon. The guy who literally stole money from Trump supporters using a fake build the wall. Again, this was somebody who was indicted and, charged with stealing money from these people. But no, Donald Trump's going to pardon him, but not any of the people who supported him the most. Not only that, but Donald Trump openly denounced the violence, as he should have, of course, while privately hoping that the violence would have helped him stay into office. So he's an absolute political coward. What did you expect? Of course, we told you who he is. And he's shown us numerous occasions who he is. But again, a lot of these people painted, in their minds, painted a picture of Donald Trump that didn't actually exist. That wasn't actually the reality of who he is. And so Tiger King is super pissed off right now. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. But again, what did you expect? And so the Proud Boys have responded. Some members called Trump a shill. Others called him extraordinarily weak, and have since urged others to not attend any more Trump events, or even those from the Republican Party. I might explain why some of these recent rallies have been, super sad and super empty. Who knew? The Proud Boys also said in a Telegram channel on Monday, quote, Trump will go down as a total failure. I'm enjoying this. Am I enjoying this too much? Like, is this something? Can I like overdose on Schadenfreude? Is this something that can happen? Because I want to make sure. Like, I'm getting too many good feelings. This cannot happen. This is unacceptable. All right. I need to not feel so good about what I'm watching. Maybe later I'll go depress myself by watching something. I don't know what. but enjoy more. Yes, there's no such thing as too much in this case. They just realize that he's weak. They just realize that he's weak. That he's a sad beta. Oh my goodness. It took them 4 years to figure that one out. 4 years. Wow. And last week, good old Nick Fuentes had also wrote that Trump's response to the Capitol riots was, quote, very weak and flaccid. Oh no. Oh.
Tighten up my meat. I like my meat tight.
There is no tight meat going on with Donald Trump right now. It is very loose. It is very flaccid meat. I'm just saying, flaccid meat, limp, very limp response. But anyway, so obviously, hey, it turns out Donald Trump's a gigantic liar. Who would have known? A liar and a con man. Again, who would have known? Oh, right, all of us, because we told you here on the show. I told you here on this show. And it wasn't just me, progressive media. We're on it. We're all over it. We're like, this guy is not a strong person. He's a sad, pathetic person. Always has been. Weak, cowardly, and pathetic. Again, Donald Trump ran from serving in a war. Okay? And look, you know, he ran from Vietnam. And that said, like, I'm not in favor of war in Vietnam. Of course not. But he still ran away from it while also claiming that, oh, no. Me, like, avoiding venereal disease, that was my Vietnam. Impotent. That's a good one. I like that. Again, con man, carnival barker, all that. And it looks like the clown show's over. So now, on the Proud Boys, Ari Culver, a political consultant and researcher in Israel who studies the far right, here's what he said. Quote, when Trump told them that if he left office, America would fall into an abyss, they believed him. Now that he has left office, they believe he has both surrendered and failed to do his patriotic duty. It was never about the country, though. It was always about him, his ego, and his money. And now, I don't think he's going to have much of either. Let's be honest. His businesses are not doing well. His businesses are in the red. He's got gigantic loans that are due. No bank is going to do business with him. Deutsche Bank closed his account. So he's got basically no one to run through. He's got no more, additional taxpayer monies that he can funnel into his businesses now. Yes, he's still going to get, a Secret Service support and all that. So yes, he'll still get that in the presidential stipend. But at the same time, he's not going to be able to redirect as much taxpayer money to himself as he did before. So he's running out. He's going to go bankrupt again. Oh, I can almost guarantee it. Now, as far as QAnon also had a meltdown. So I read you some of those responses yesterday. I've got more. In fact, according to insiders Rachel Greenspan, members of the far-right group QAnon have also disavowed the president. Quote, so was Q just one big lie and psyop that I foolishly followed and believed for over 3 years? One user said. Why, yes, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. Guys and gals, I'm losing my ever-loving mind right now. Is this really happening? Was this part of the plan? Asks another. No, because there was no plan. The plan didn't exist. It was bullshit. And by the way, speaking of QAnon founder Ron Watkins owns 8chan, or it's now known as 8kun. This is where that conspiracy came from, QAnon. That guy doesn't even live in America. Okay, he lives in the Philippines. And he released a statement. It's like, oh, we're just going to have to move on. We're going to have to move on. We wish Biden the best. See you later. That's it. That's the person who we believe Q is. Okay? Now, this is not some guy in the government. This is some guy living in the Philippines who owned a pig farm. Okay? This guy's a whack job. all right? And he puts out these drops, right? Or that's what he did. He put out these drops, or, you know,
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
big, massive dumps of conspiracy theories, which people have just started to realize were just garbage. Bullshit. There wasn't anything to it. Just fake news. But of course, we're the fake news. Oh, yes, of course. We're the fake news. And by the way, I don't really want to hear the word fake news, the phrase fake news anymore, because, I mean, it's, I'm going to say it myself, obviously, because the Trumpisms are deep in the brain. After 4 years of this, they're deep. They're buried deep. I gotta dig them out. That said, it's funny to see that so many are abandoning the president. It's super hilarious because, you know what? He deserves to be abandoned and deserves to be completely alone, which will do fantastic for his ego. All right. Let's go to Ted Cruz. This should be fun. President Joe Biden kicked off his administration by signing a bunch of executive orders. I mean, this was a lot. This was a stack of executive orders, lots of them. In fact, some of them are incredibly based and very good. In fact, you've got mask mandates, you've got the canceling of Keystone XL pipeline, you're pausing student loan payments and interest until September. You know, I think that he should cancel them, but hey, you know, at least this is a good step. He killed the racist 1776 commission that glorified slavery, banned workplace discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity, ended the Muslim ban, required non-citizens to be counted in the census, so you have a more fair and accurate census count. And of course, he rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement, among many other things. So, like Joe or not, these are some good things. I am for good things. I am against bad things. All right? Now, Senator Ted Cruz, however, is for bad things and not for good things. And so he's going to make a ridiculous comparison and a ridiculous statement on rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement. So here we go. Cruz had argued in the statement that rejoining the agreement would result in a sustained loss of U.S. jobs, and that by signing the order, President Biden indicates that he is more interested in the views of citizens of Paris than in the jobs of the citizens of Pittsburgh. Quote, rejoining the Paris Agreement will do little to affect the climate and will harm the livelihoods of everyday Americans all across the country. What? That doesn't make any sense. While I agree the Paris Climate Agreement actually, you know, needs to be more aggressive, well, he doesn't say that. I think that it should be more aggressive. Ted Cruz, his criticism is not at all based in reality. It's actually really, really dumb. In fact, this international agreement is actually not designed to appeal to people living in Paris. At least not only to people in Paris. It actually benefits everybody with cleaner air and less impacts of climate change. In fact, I mean, okay. Before I get into more details about this, I just got to ask, does Ted Cruz, what does he think climate change is? Does he think it's like localized? Like, oh man, you know, if we do things here in America, and you know, we don't do anything about climate change here in America, then the climate in America gets worse. But if we do something about it, then it makes it better just in America. That means that the Chinese decide to burn more coal, it's only going to affect China. What? No, that doesn't work. I mean, these are important questions, right? I'm trying to figure out how much of an idiot Ted Cruz actually is. But all right, anyway, substance, right? Substance. So the whole argument is, well, it'll cost jobs. If we do the non-binding Paris Climate Agreement, it's going to cost Pittsburgh jobs, right? Well, how do I know that it won't? Because that's my argument, okay? Well, here's how I know. Because Pittsburgh's already done it. Pittsburgh has already exceeded its commitment to the Paris Climate Accord and already met its 2030 goal of 100% renewable energy for city operators, or for city operations, according to the city's Democratic mayor, Bill Peduto. In fact, the mayor was really mad when Donald Trump pulled out of the original agreement. And he actually teamed up with Mayor Anne Hidalgo of Paris. So now, here's their joint statement. You'll love this. As mayor of Pittsburgh, I was elected to represent the citizens of Pittsburgh, not Paris. And she responds, as mayor of Paris, I was elected to represent the citizens of Paris, not Pittsburgh. But the only way to do right by Pittsburghers and Parisians is to abide by the principles of the Paris Agreement, which guarantees the future health and prosperity of both of our cities and every other city in the world. Pittsburgh also is part of Allegheny County, which overwhelmingly voted for Joe Biden, as well as Hillary Clinton. Now, Pittsburgh did go to Donald Trump back in 2016. I'm sorry, Pennsylvania went to Donald Trump in 2016, but then, of course, flipped over to Biden. And so, you know why? It's because it turns out not only was Donald Trump a ridiculous con man, but also Democrats do better with the economy. Democrats actually do better for jobs. And so I know it's going to blow some people's minds because there's this common narrative, right, being spread by, conservatives like Republicans, they're just better for jobs. Historically, that's not actually true. In fact, history does show, and facts, that economic growth happens more often under Democrats than it does Republicans. In fact, since President Dwight Eisenhower took office in 1953, the economy, as measured by the GDP, unemployment, inflation, and number of recessions, has typically performed better with a Democrat in the White House. GDP growth is higher, inflation has been lower, and unemployment has tended to fall as opposed to Republican administrations. According to data collected by the National Bureau of Economic Research, Democrats are also better at avoiding recessions, although we tend to inherit them. Obama with George H.W. Bush's recession, and now, of course, Biden with the Trump recession. So there's that. In fact, from 1953 to 2020, Republicans controlled the White House for 480 months, the majority of the time, about 23% of which were spent in recession. Democratic presidents were in charge for 336 months in that period, and just 4% were in recession. So now the one thing that they can point to, a recession, was under President Jimmy Carter. That was in 1980. This is the only one that actually began with a president in office. The rest of them were caused by Republicans when Republicans were in office. And look, sometimes it's their fault with deregulation. Other times it's not. Other times, for example, there's fluctuations in oil prices, other external factors such as that. But generally, the policies of Republicans with massive deregulation in financial markets tends to lead us to end up in a recession later on. So now, that said, oil prices, it's a very interesting that it mentions oil prices as well as being a leading cause of, or a possible cause of going into recession. If we go to renewable energy, locally produced, there's American energy, from the sun, such as what is suggested by the Paris Climate Agreement, then we wouldn't be as dependent on foreign sources of oil that have these price shocks, okay? And so, unfortunately for Ted Cruz, some of his biggest donors are in oil and gas. And so, he wouldn't be happy about this, going to renewable energy. That's why he doesn't like the Paris Climate Agreement. That's why he hates things like the Green New Deal. And so overall, he's 100% wrong. Paris Climate Agreement is actually a good thing. And I actually wish we would go towards a Green New Deal. In fact, that is supposed to help create millions of good paying jobs, also make us energy independent, which is a good thing, reduce the threat of disastrous climate change, which is expected to cost our country by 2025 over $500 billion a year in things like damages. And so That's according to projections by the National Resources Defense Council. So it turns out the cost of not doing something on climate change, not doing these things, is actually far greater than any potential costs that people like Ted Cruz love to throw out. It's just not true. We should absolutely be back in the deal, and we should absolutely push for more, push for better, to not only do well by our citizens, but also to our environment as well. All right. I decree that alternative energy will henceforth be known as freedom fuel. Oh, that's so good. I love it. Freedom fuel. It actually is too. I mean, you can't really outsource solar panels. You can't really outsource wind farms, but you can, outsource oil productions. There you go. All right. Let me take a quick break here. I want to come back and I want to do the whistleblower story in Florida. That's a really disastrous story. I know some of you have been wanting me to do this for quite some time. And I finally I'm having the chance to be able to do some of these stories that are also really important. We'll talk about that. Rebecca Jones, we got Bernie Sanders as well. And then we're just going to have a little fun, ridiculous candy story to kind of end the show out, end it up on a lighter, higher note. We'll do that after this break. I'm also going to read some super chats and thank some members. So stay right here, a couple minutes. We'll be right back. Round the Nation.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
I will eat your ass.
Welcome back to the show. Round the Nation right here, Waldorf Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. All right, so before we get back into it, I want to thank a couple of members, that's channel members. I want to thank Sather Day and Ali Jordan. Thank you for signing up to become a channel member. You can become a channel member by hitting the join button below. We're certainly going to need, obviously, your support going into this new administration. As always, to keep up the fight for progressive values. I also want to thank patrons, patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, David Lang, and Ahmed for signing up as well. So thank you very much for supporting the show. Let's go over here to see what's going on Twitch here. Granny Dragon, thank you for the bits, 100%. Love it. That's another way that you can support us on our Twitch channel. Fun times. And then, let's see. Let's get some super chats going here. Got a couple. Scotty Johnson says Ted Cruz is a traitor and a corporate hack. Fire him. More like arrest him. For taking part of that, for inciting riots. Goku Just Saying says grifters take jobs away from illegals, but end up taking jobs from legal Americans in the process, to put it another way. Interesting. All right. Anyway, let's do it. Go to Florida. Goons belonging to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis arrested whistleblower Rebecca Jones last week for attempting to give the factual reality of coronavirus in her state of Florida. So now this is according to an article by Ars Technica. Florida police arrested former state data scientist Rebecca Jones and accused her of breaking state law prohibiting accessing of computer systems without authorization. So I'm going to get to why that is complete garbage, okay, later on in this story. So now we found out about this arrest warrant on Saturday. So she wrote in a series of tweets that she and her lawyer had arranged with Florida police in order to turn herself in to law enforcement. She didn't want to be, somebody out there who was evading the law, even though she says that she maintains innocence. Now, Jones had actually been able to post bail, about $2,500, and also she had tested positive for COVID-19 while in police custody. So this is somebody, of course, who's been fighting against the spread of COVID-19 and also against the spread of misinformation. And it sucks to see her actually suffer now from COVID-19, something that she's tried to save countless Floridians from being able to get. So now, that said, the warrant alleges that Jones had gained unauthorized access to the State Department of Health systems back in November to send an unauthorized message to employees and to download a list of contact information for approximately 19,000 people. Jones had built and managed Florida's COVID-19 data dashboard from its launch in March until about May 5th, at which, that point, her and her team were removed from the project. Later that month, Jones had publicly said that she was not only removed from the dashboard project, but also fired because she refused to manipulate COVID-19 data in order to support the governor's plan to reopen the state. So, they wanted to reopen the state. They wanted to reopen businesses, restaurants, corporations, despite the fact that the pandemic was doing incredibly bad in Florida. It's still doing incredibly bad all over the country. Now, since she was fired and removed and had come out publicly, ended up launching her own independent COVID data reporting platform, which was aimed, of course, helping people get the true information about case numbers and especially case numbers when it comes to children. And so, in schools. So that said, okay, the message that was allegedly sent that the police believe was from her was this. On November 10th, an unknown person sent an unauthorized message to roughly 1,750 members of a Florida Department of Health emergency response team. That message urged recipients to speak up before another 17,000 people are dead, adding, quote, this is wrong. You don't have to be a part of this. Be a hero. Speak out before it's too late. Based. Not only based, but whoever sent that message is a badass. I'm just saying. Now, DeSantis, okay, he is a political coward, right? We know, because he did this to suck up to Donald Trump. Of course he did. Now, Donald Trump didn't care about the millions of people that are being affected by COVID-19, the hundreds of thousands of people that have died from COVID-19. No, doesn't really care. and neither did DeSantis about the thousands of people, tens of thousands, that have died in his state. I mean, all they wanted to do, and really it's because of the donors, they wanted to send people back to work. Hey, man, let's send everybody back to work, even though the situation is really not safe. And it's a ridiculous, plan, because they think, well, oh, of course, the only reason that the economy is not picking up is because people are locked down. So let's open it back up. Let's open up all the restaurants, without realizing that because of COVID, people don't really want to go out to eat. People don't really want to risk themselves. Most people don't. And the people that are left over are often the worst people. I remember talking about, a story where the people that are going to restaurants right now, in places that have opened up, generally don't tip or are very rude, and also ask people workers to remove their masks to figure out whether or not they want to actually give them a tip. I mean, it's so ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, investigators had probed the unauthorized message, and by early December, they believed that Jones was the suspect. And then, of course, state police had raided her home the first week of December to seize electronic devices. I showed you the video of that. That was very disturbing. It was very distressing. She was saying that, hey, you're pointing guns at my face. You're pointing guns at my children. What are you doing in order to go and raid this? And Twitter thread after it happened, she said this: they took my phone and the computer I use every day to post the case numbers in Florida and school cases for the entire country. They took the evidence of corruption at the state level. This was DeSantis. He sent the Gestapo. This is DeSantis's Florida. True. Look, this is what happens when you have the authoritarian right. They wanted the data so they could use it for political correctness. They wanted to make sure that she couldn't actually put out the truth. Again, since she was gone, she has been, putting out her own information, based on the actual case numbers that she was able to get. DeSantis has been basically hiding. His administration has been hiding these numbers, has not been talking about them, and has been making sure that any numbers that get released from them officially fit their narrative of, oh, we've got super low cases here in Florida. We should be able to open it back up. Not a problem. Just open it back up. Just open it back up. And in fact, this was a good example of political correctness. The president himself had said, open it up. It's not that bad. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Open up the economy. It's time. It's time. We can't let the cure be greater than the disease, be worse than the disease. And I understand that there are issues with lockdowns. I get it. I get it. There are issues, of course, and we've seen plenty of instances of like depression, people not being able to make enough money to live. Those are disastrous things. Stuff that we can actually do something about, but also lack of social contact, children being stunted in their social growth. That also sucks. Having difficulties with online courses instead of in-person courses. Those are also terrible things. Understand, though, that, if people had just one solid, not half-assed, but one solid, nice lockdown for a little while, and everybody had adhered to masks, we would actually be in a lot better shape. There are countries right now where COVID is done. It's basically over with. They're going back to, they're going out to eat. They're having movie nights, and they're visiting their their families or grandparents. We're not doing that here because we didn't do what was necessary to actually control this virus. Instead, we just kind of acted like it didn't exist under the direction of Republicans. And so, I mean, that's the mistake that we made. All right. So there's one other thing that I found really interesting about this as well. So, and I kind of prefaced it early on in the video. And it was the statute that Jones was accused of violating in that arrest warrant. So here's what it says. It prohibits anyone from willfully, knowingly, and without authorization or exceeding authorization, accesses or causes to be accessed any computer, computer system, computer network, or electronic device with knowledge that such access is unauthorized or the manner that of use exceeds authorization. So basically, you know, if you don't have that authorization, if you don't have the correct, you know, like things to get in, the username, password, etc., then, you know, breaching this or logging in is bad, very bad. But here's the thing, all right? Jones, I'm sorry, as Ars Technica reported this time, not only do thousands of state employees share the same username and password, they all share the password for accessing the system Jones allegedly breached, but also the credentials for accessing that system were publicly available on the internet for anyone to find and use. This was open data. This was open information. You could go and sign in anytime, anywhere, anyone. So how did they determine that it was Rebecca Jones? Really? She denies it. She says, look, I didn't do this. Maybe it was, and maybe it was her, maybe it wasn't her. All right? Maybe it was somebody inspired by what Jones was doing. In fact, here's what she said on this. She said that Florida police found no evidence of a message sent last November to DOH staff telling them to speak out on any devices they took. The entire basis for the raid on my home in December, she wrote on Twitter. Yeah. The raid was based on a lie. Still, the state has issued a warrant for my arrest, even though the crime is not related to the warrant, scope of the warrant, and that they didn't wait for a third party to review confidential information on my computers. So it might not even been heard, or hers. Wasn't even hers. Either way, though, whoever sent the message, it was the right thing to do. To stand up against the DeSantis administration, who was doing political propaganda. I mean, and this entire thing, targeting this woman, is nothing but political retribution against a whistleblower who embarrassed the people in power by actually trying to save lives. They didn't like that she was running the dashboard, showing the true numbers, the politically inconvenient numbers that didn't line up with their narrative. And that's why they went after her. They harassed her, menaced her kids, arrested her, threatened her, all that. This is why this is happening. The DeSantis administration is disgusting. It's trash. 100% trash. I feel bad for anybody having to live in Florida under him. That's all I have to say. All right. Move on. Budget Committee Chairman Bernie Sanders is ready to get to work. In fact, he went on CBS News following Biden's inauguration to talk about some of the stuff that he's going to do. Take a look.
Take a look at what's going on in our society today. When you have tens of millions of people who are struggling to put food on the table, to prevent themselves from being evicted, small businesses who are hanging in or going under, we got to act, and we have to act decisively. Now, I would hope that Republicans understand the severity of the crisis we're in right now. But if they do not, we have, as you know, budget reconciliation. Budget reconciliation is a Senate process that the Republicans use to give tax breaks to the rich. They used it to try to repeal the Affordable Care Act. Well, I'm going to be chairman of the Budget Committee. We're going to use it in a very different way, in a way that protects working families and the middle class, not just the rich.
All right, so that's kind of an overview right? Very, very general. But there's more. In an op-ed in The Guardian, he went into detail. He started out by saying the Democrats have absolutely no excuse not to pass within the first 100 days legislation about the coronavirus. So now, what I've been hearing is they're not going to pass anything related to coronavirus, the stimulus bill, until like March. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why wait? Technically, it's in the first 100 days, but boy, that's not good. That's waiting a little too long. People need stuff done now. Now, he also said that you should guarantee health care to everybody, provide universal paid family leave, medical leave to workers, and to get a $15 minimum wage on top of other priorities. And as he mentioned, he's got the power of being able to use budget reconciliation, which requires a simple majority instead of the 60-vote filibuster. But there's more. He said, that's not enough. This year, we must also pass a second reconciliation bill that deals with major structural changes that our country desperately needs. Ultimately, we must confront the grotesque level of income and wealth inequality and create a country that works for all and not just few. Americans should no longer be denied basic economic rights that are guaranteed to people in virtually every other major country. There's no reason that Joe Biden could not sign into law two major bills that will accomplish most of the goals I listed above within the first 100 days of the new Congress. We cannot allow Mitch McConnell and the Republican leadership to sabotage legislation that would improve the lives of millions of working Americans and is widely popular. If the Republicans could use the reconciliation process to protect the wealthy and the powerful, we can use it to protect working families, the sick, the elderly, the disabled, and the poor. In fact, he's going to talk more about this. There's another clip from that same CBS interview. Let's take a look.
And what is absolutely imperative now is that the Congress show the American people we can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. In other words, we can impeach Trump, we can allow Biden's nominees to have hearings and be appointed, and most importantly, we deal with the crises facing working families all over this country. So we have got to move forward in an unprecedented way. As the incoming chairman of the Budget Committee, I'm going to do my best to make that happen.
Do you believe this will be a progressive administration?
Yes, I do. And I think the reason for that is that the people are demanding action. You got 92 million people without any health insurance in the middle of a pandemic. You got millions of people unemployed. You got people who are worried about being evicted from their homes. You got people working at starvation wages. The times call out for bold action on the part of the Congress, for a willingness for us to stand up to powerful special interests who want to maintain the status quo. That's what we got to do, and we got to do it quickly.
All right. Now, one of you asks, by the way, what is the point of impeachment? Trump is gone. Well, for one, it's about accountability, but okay, you might not care about that. The other part is basically ending the taxpayer money that's going to go to Donald Trump and preventing him from running in 2024. So, for one, I don't think he should get a dime of taxpayer money. Seriously, after what he did to the country, after the state that he left it in, I'm perfectly fine with getting taxpayer money taken away from him. No more Secret Service, no more presidential pension, nothing like that. He's undeserving, no health care. If he wants health care, go out in the free market and get it. Or just wait for Bernie Sanders to pass Medicare for all, which would be great. Yeah, I think that, we should absolutely impeach him. Totally fine. But anyway, so now that said, we've got some obstacles. All right, there's some obstacles to doing this stuff, and it's not going to be from Republicans. Oh, sure, of course, Republicans hate all this stuff. They hate all good things, and they would never vote for it. Okay, never vote on any paid leave or anything like that. Not without, of course, massive concessions like more tax cuts for the rich. Sure. All right. In fact, Mitch McConnell, he wants to keep the filibuster. Now, I talked about how there was a power sharing agreement that was going to happen in the Senate, and how the talks kind of fell apart because Mitch McConnell, he says, well, I'm not going to have any agreement unless I can keep the filibuster, so I can keep my minority powers to be able to block everything. And by the way, That's exactly what I plan to do if you give me the power of the filibuster. If you keep it, I'm going to block everything. Okay, then why would we let you keep it if you plan on blocking everything? I get it. If we were dealing with a normal Republican Party that actually was acting in good faith, then you can say, well, look, maybe there are some things that might be overreach or whatever, but we're not in danger of that right now. The Overton window in this country is massively to the right now. Even our Democrats are conservative when it comes to world politics, politically. And I should say that policy-wise, because again, we're the only country in the developed world that doesn't actually have a universal healthcare system to take care of its people, and we end up paying the price. We actually pay more than any other country in the world. More waste, more money going into these middlemen that suck us dry. And so, we're the only ones who have that real problem. Even in countries that still have private insurance, they make sure that it's not profit and that it's heavily regulated so that they don't do what they do here and basically act as middlemen to extract as much profit as possible from regular people. So, all right, anyway, that said, Mitch McConnell, this is my problem, okay? So Mitch McConnell, he's going to block everything, all right? Now, the way to get around that, what Bernie Sanders was saying was reconciliation. So that brings us to the Democrats. Well, we have a problem with Democrats, too. We have Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin is a Republican in blueface. He's a big problem. And of course, the general sheepishness of most Democrats in their refusal to wield the power that they're given effectively is another problem. The other possible issue is Joe Biden himself. He doesn't necessarily want to make any sort of fundamental change, all right? That nothing will fundamentally change. So he's going to keep things generally the same, bring it back to more of an Obama type of level, all right? An Obama type of administration, Obama 2.0, basically. He keeps talking about the need for unity and bipartisanship. I think the problem is the guy thinks it's still 1992. And that he can make a deal with the Republicans because, well, they're acting in good faith. No, I can tell you that most elected Republicans right now do not act in good faith. They don't, especially when you consider the last time we had a Democratic president, Mitch McConnell used a filibuster to do unprecedented obstruction just for political reasons. There weren't policy reasons. It's just, no, I don't like you. I don't like Barack Hussein Obama. I want to make you a one-term president. So I'm just going to block everything that you do, no matter what it is. And you guys can reach out as much as you want. Doesn't matter. I'm going to block you. And that's what happened. All right. He tried to basically block all of Obama's agenda. And of course, when Democrats did have the House and the Senate early on, they were able to pass things, but only through a party line. So now the thing is, that's exactly what we're going to see. That's exactly what we're going to see. All right, unless the Democrats actually do use budget reconciliation to try to pass some of the Sanders agenda. And if they do, guess what? The party would benefit and the American people would benefit too. Imagine using a winning strategy. I mean, come on. You just have to be afraid, stop being afraid of what Republicans will say about you when you do this, because they're never going to be nice to you. Republicans will figuratively beat you with a stick every time you get into power and every time you try to do something with that power. So stop trying to take the high road and just govern and govern effectively. If you do that, the majority of the people are going to be with you because you are showing the majority of people that you are with them. And when you do that, well, that has good political ramifications as well. All right. So let's have fun with the Diet Coke button. There's some ridiculousness here. So the internet is going crazy over the revelation that Donald Trump actually had a little red button that he used to get Diet Cokes. So look, this is a fun nonsense story, but we're going to go with it. So now this was a commentator named Tom Newton Dunn. He was on Twitter, and he posted some images of the Resolute desk when, Biden was in it, and of course, Donald Trump. So let me show you that. All right, so there's the images. Now you got Biden sitting there, but then you also had Trump. So you notice that little box sitting next to the phones. It's fun little boxes, right? With a little red button in it. So now here's what Newton Dunn had tweeted about this. He said, when Shippers Unbound and I interviewed Donald Trump back in 2019, we became fascinated by what the little red button did. What did the red button do? Well, eventually, at some point during the meeting, during the interview, Trump had pressed it, probably to show it off, or maybe he was thirsty. And it turns out that it summoned a butler to bring him a Diet Coke on a silver platter. A silver platter. A butler bringing in a Diet Coke. What? Can you imagine being so damn lazy that you can't get up and get your own Diet Coke from like a mini fridge or something? Could you imagine? But Jeff, you don't understand. He's been presidenting, okay? It's a very important job. Okay, it's very important. There's a lot of pressure. Sometimes that pressure really makes you thirsty, and sometimes you just got to have a butler deliver your Diet Coke on a nice little silver platter, okay? I mean, this kind of reminds me of the serving, like the butter robot from Rick and Morty. What is my purpose? Your purpose is to serve butter. Oh God. Oh my God. Except it's worse. It's not even cool like a robot. It's just a butler. So that said, a lot of people on social media had a little fun with this. All right. So now one person says, why couldn't he just have a bloody mini refrigerator and take it himself? True. Another person asks, let's see. The first bill that Democrats should pass is making sure no tax dollars can ever be spent again on buttons that summon Diet Cokes on a silver platter. Dude really thought he was a monarch. You want to talk about waste and abuse, right, of the office. And look, maybe it wouldn't be the first priority, but it's a good point. I actually think that Donald Trump thought he was the CEO of America and that he could do basically anything. I mean, and by anything, I mean, the things that he did as CEO, funnel money into his pockets and then run the business into the ground. Just saying. All right. Another one. My biggest fear was that Trump was going to hit the wrong button when he wanted a Diet Coke. Because there is another little red button which does other things. I'm glad the nuclear football is out of his hand, by the way. Oh, it's so good. Another person says, the day any of us needs a button to have someone bring us a beverage, we need to stop and think. What have I become? What am I doing? What's going on here? And my favorite, I just love this one. Last one. Someone points out that I see he's got a new chair also. They probably couldn't get the Trump fart smell out of the other one.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
I couldn't help myself. You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. You probably thought the nuclear football was an actual football. Oh my God. Where's the nuclear football? It doesn't look like a football. There's a guy who thought that stealth jets literally turned invisible. My God. Dumbest man in America. Okay. Anyway. Holy crap. That's all I got for y'all today. Thank you for going around the nation with me. Please like and share the stream. Dragon Alchemist says, kick Cruz out, 2025, Texas. Yes. Look, if I were in Texas, I would vote for Beto O'Rourke. That's how much I want Ted Cruz gone. I would vote for Beto O'Rourke. Ugh. I know, terrible. But please give us a like and a share. Tim Dan, thank you for the bits. Much appreciated. Granny Dragon, also thank you for the bits. Much appreciated over on our Twitch stream. Thank you to those watching on Facebook as well. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Become a patron. Also, you can support the channel by becoming a channel member through the YouTubes as well, or give us your Bezos bucks. Yes, the wonderful Bezos bucks. By subscribing with your free Prime subscription on Twitch. So all that wonderful stuff. Great way to help us out. So those of you who are on Twitch and on YouTube as well, help us out by going to the Surfs. That's the Surfs on Twitch. So let me go here and get the names. It's the Surfs TV. Tell them it's a raid by Jeff's YouTube, by Waldorf Nation. Go to Twitch, the Surfs TV, raid them, tell them it's from me, and that I send my regards. So let's do that. Almost 500, 600 of you, and 44 of you on Twitch already. Let's do it. Let's surprise him because he's super based, and he does a fantastic show, a fantastic stream. So let's do it. Surfs TV, Twitch. Let's go.
Masturbate all day long. Don't you want to please me?
Tighten up my meat. I like my meat tight.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Please clap.
Wet ass keyword.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.